and I made the payments upfront. So when the apartment was ready, the company actually went bankrupt. Should you go to university? I even question myself, what the hell am I doing here? Another lesson that I would tell my 20-year-old self would be about alcohol. I was probably drinking over the happy point. Like my entire goal was to get a six-pack. I looked skinny, I looked weak. So the most important advice I would give to my 20-year-old self is, what if I told you that I had the idea of putting QR codes in restaurants way before COVID? What if I told you that I had the idea of creating Tinder many years before Tinder was invented? Today, I'm going back in time and giving advice to my 20-year-old self. And hopefully these advices can be helpful to you too. The first one is what I call the disease of consumption. It is this idea of consuming information and not taking any actions. I remember when I was younger, the amount of time that I would spend on social media, just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, not doing anything with that information. The other thing is the amount of time that I spend on TV shows and Netflix on the TV. Your time is the most valuable asset. If you would ask Warren Buffett if he would trade all of his wealth for being younger, he would probably do that, because time is something that he cannot buy. The other thing I would tell my 20-year-old self would be to buy a car or a motorcycle. I know this advice won't make any sense when we all have autonomous cars, but even today, having a car allows you to go to places whenever you want. It gives you the freedom to take your family to a road trip, to explore different places. And for me, I remember when I was younger, spending 3 hours commuting, being angry because the bus is delayed or because there was a train disruption and I had to wait a little bit longer. And it goes back to the first advice, which is time. Just look at billionaires. Why do you think they buy a private jet? It's because they value time, right? Do you think they want to go to the airport and spend a lot of time, doing scans and queuing for the plane? They understand that time is the most important asset. The other advice that I would give to my 20-year-old self is to move out of my parents' house. And I did that when I was 23 years old. What you learn when you live by yourself is to become independent. Is to learn about simple things like how to cook your own meal, how to clean your house, how to, do your laundry. And although these are mundane things and that you think, oh, but anyone can do that. But is the fact that you start to appreciate more what your parents do for you and understand that what they do, it's not easy. And when you start to have this appreciation, you start to value your parents more. You start to understand that the things that they do for you are because they really love you. One of the best investment decisions I made when I was 22 years old was to buy an apartment, because owning a property allows you to have security. It is a safe asset to invest on, and that was something that I don't regret. The part that I regret is the fact that I bought an apartment off the plan. And for me, that was a big headache for several reasons. First reason was the hidden fees. When you buy an apartment off the plan, there are so many things that you cannot imagine in terms of fees that you only discover throughout the process. There is like commissions to the real estate agents. In my case, there were fees about the construction progress. There were conveyancing fees. So many things that I didn't expect. And in my case, I had to pay some specific deposits at certain point in times. So throughout the construction process, you think you're gonna pay, a certain amount that is fixed, but in reality, you start paying a lot of fees that you don't expect. And if you don't have the income to pay that, you can be in a lot of trouble. The other thing is when you buy an established property, you can see stuff, you can touch, understand the position of the house in relation to the sun, you can quickly see the size and feel like if that's appropriate for you. You can take a look at the carports, the entry, and all of that. When in my case, when I bought the off-plan apartment, those things, although they were mentioned, you don't actually realize exactly what they are until the apartment is ready and you can take a look. The other thing about buying an apartment off the plan, at least in my case, was the building quality. For you to have an idea, the apartment that I bought was delivered with bare concrete on the floor. The doors were of the lowest quality. They were so light, they looked like made of cardboard. Even the door handles, they were like really cheap. The sink would be like the cheapest option. The I don't know, the toilet, and that meant I had to do a massive renovation. So you already paid a lot for the apartment, but what you get is just a space, a shell, and you have to do everything on top of that to make the apartment livable, basically. So I had to spend a lot of time searching for services providers to work on the ceiling, to work on the lighting, to paint the apartment. I had to do because the apartment was delivered on a bare concrete, and not talking about this fancy polished burnt concrete style. I'm talking about like raw, rough concrete. That how the apartment was delivered. So I had to do and pay for a new floor. I even had to remove the tiles from the toilet, which were like really cheap and ugly, and I had to install new tiles. I had to retile the kitchen as well, and that for me was a lot of time that I spent, a lot of stress. Um, and again, that's time you're never gonna get back, right? And because that was my first time, of course, I made mistakes. And because I didn't have a lot of money either, I had to do it all of by myself. So I didn't have a project manager, I didn't have like an architect. So I had to manage all the tradies, all the service providers to do the work for me. And I was living far from the apartment, so sometimes I had to go to the apartment and stay there, sometimes to open the door for the service provider, or sometimes just to wait for some parcels to be delivered. The other thing that gave me a lot of headaches was the delivery of the furniture. So the apartment that I bought was really small, so I thought I want to maximize every single space in that apartment, and I decided to buy custom furniture. So then I went to the store, I talked to the seller, they took the measurements, they gave me a quote and all of that. And I did that process probably 1 year before the apartment was ready. And I made the payments upfront. So when the apartment was ready, the company actually went bankrupt. And I was in that situation where I had paid the company wasn't gonna deliver the furniture, and I was really stressed, and I was angry, and I spent time almost suing the company. And I know other people that try to do the same. But imagine the levels of stress. You have your job, you have your other problems, and now you have to deal with this company that don't want to deliver the furniture for you. In the end, I managed to get the company to deliver the furniture after a lot of phone calls and conversations and chasing up people. They did deliver it, but my point is the amount of time that I spent, the stress was just not worth it. Okay. So yeah, that would be the advice that I would give to my 20-year-old self. Buy properties. I think real estate is a great investment. However, I wouldn't buy something off the plan. I would buy something established that I can assess, that is already livable, and then I can just get the keys, either move myself there or rent a place as quick as I can. The other problem of buying an off the plan apartment is because you cannot make money out of it, right? You cannot rent the apartment until it's ready and livable. You cannot move in either. So in my case, I was paying rent and I had to pay for the apartment as well. So it was a really tough situation. And even after the apartment was ready, I had to spend easily 4 months just doing renovations while I was still paying rent. Like, there are some good things about buying an off the plan apartment or house. Everything's new and shiny. You probably designed the place the way you wanted. So there is this level of satisfaction. It's like buying a new car. There is this satisfaction of, that the smell of the car and everything works and etc. So the other extreme would be buying a place that is extremely old, like over 40 years, and that place hasn't been renovated. The problem with that is the maintenance cost. And you can imagine things like the pipes, the electricals on the house, and everything, like the structure and trees and roots that go under your house. This can all damage your house. And to fix these structural things can cost you a lot of money. Should you go to university? The hard thing about university is making such a big decision in your life when you are very young. So let's say someone would go to university when they are 18. They need to make this really big commitment for 4-5 years. And it comes with a lot of costs as well. Nowadays, paying university is not cheap. I actually don't know what I would tell my 20-year-old self. I think university was valuable to me. I've learned things that helped me to get a job, and I made friends. I remember having some really nice experiences there. So the networking, the knowledge you learn, and the opportunities, they can be really valuable. A lot of people left university. A lot of people were not able to make the payments. And the thing is, I remember seeing a lot of engineers being graduated at the time, and they could not find a job in that area. I was lucky to select a field of work that at the time was full of opportunities, which was information systems. But for other people, they were not that lucky. Yeah, and can make you in a really bad place in terms of debt and being disengaged, I guess, and demotivated and sad that you have spent so much time studying and now you don't have a job. So it's really hard decision. I remember learning stuff that didn't make a lot of sense to me, and honestly, I've never applied those concepts to my life, like learning calculus or learning sociology, learning how to program in assembly, which was at the time a really old language. Nobody used it. So yeah, I guess that time was, I even questioned myself, what the hell am I doing here? Learning all this useless stuff. But anyway, overall, I think it was positive for me. The other thing is taking actions, right? So at the beginning of this video, I told about the ideas that I had, about the QR code on restaurants and the idea of Tinder. And everybody has great ideas. But if you don't actually take actions and implement them, what's the point? There was something that I learned from a person called Tiago Forte, who is the author of the book Building a Second Brain, which actually changed how I look at life and how I look at my time. How much time I spend absorbing information instead of creating things, creating content, creating a business. And this is one of the reasons why I decided to create this YouTube channel, because I was tired of not producing anything, not helping other people. And that's the lesson I will tell anybody, is to actually think about how much time you spend consuming versus the amount of time you spend producing, creating something. So the lesson I would tell most people is to take actions. Instead of scrolling on social media, watching TV, just entertain yourself. Take actions. Just do something, build something, create something, make something useful for someone else's life, for yourself, for your kids. And going back to the start of the video, creating a legacy that you would be proud of. Another lesson that I would tell my 20-year-old self would be about alcohol. Yes, drinking can be fun. You can socialize with other people, makes you feel more relaxed. But when I was younger, I was probably drinking over the happy point. You know, when you're drinking, you're happy. That point is probably where I would stop. Anything beyond that point, it's really not good for anybody. You start saying things you shouldn't. You start being aggressive. You forget about things you have done. And the worst part is the day after. When you drink so much to the point that you forgot what you have done, the things that you have said, and the day after you are just wasted. You cannot do anything. You cannot go to the gym. You are tired. You wake up late. I remember losing a big chunk of my Saturday morning, which was disappointing. Like I could have used that time for something else, for, you know, meeting my family or going to the gym, etc. So yeah, that would be the advice I would give to my 20-year-old self. Drink wisely. If you don't drink, even better. I think if you can enjoy life being sober, that's probably one of the best things you can do. But if you still want to drink, just don't drink too much. Just respect your body. Enjoy the social bus, but stop when you lose control. I remember when I was younger having this goal. So I really wanted to, look good, look shredded. Like my entire goal was to get a six pack. So the training I was doing was about losing fat, the diet was low in carbs, and I ended up achieving my goal, but I looked skinny. I looked weak. So I'd probably focus on first uh, growing, building muscle, getting stronger, and then on getting leaner and shredding and etc. So that's how bodybuilders do, right? They have a bulking phase where they grow, and then they have another phase, which I don't know the name, where they get fitter. And once you get stronger, you got the most muscles, you focus on shredding to reveal the muscles. I personally don't like the very, very skinny look. I guess some people do, but that's just not my preference.